All right, we're being recorded. All right. So did everybody have a chance to look at the July 28th draft meeting minutes? And if so, can I have a motion to approve and a second?
Sure, I'll make the motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Nicole, you want to weigh in? Maybe
She's
all right,
cooking.
well, yeah.
I was just trying to unmute. Well, I did review, but I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't have any comments or
Yeah, all right,
questions.
so you'll stay. Okay.
Yeah, yep,
All right. So they are approved. Thank
great.
you. All right. Hi, Melissa. So is there any public comment? Pat, Melissa?
I don't think so, no.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Josh is with us this evening, and then tonight he's not just going to get off immediately. There are two issues that he can speak to. And one is the parks information for the town website. Lauren, he mentioned that you had sent something to him. So he's going to talk about that.
Great.
Thanks, Eileen. Yeah, so Lauren sent me all the information that you guys had discussed and would like to get added to the page and like cross-reference to the different pages. I unfortunately haven't gotten to it yet, but everything that she sent me is very easily added. I say that after I said I haven't gotten to it yet, but it's definitely on my top priority to get linked for you guys. I did want to just let you know that if you have in the future, if you have any ideas or links that would be helpful for the public, feel free to send them my way, and I'll make sure to get the webpage updated. But as soon as I get that added, I'll email the committee. We can see how it looks, and then we can make changes from there.
Okay, so that's good. So that's what I was just going to ask. So we'll have a chance to see it before it's finalized.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's something that we can go in and edit at any time. So
Okay.
like I said, I'll get it out to the committee, and then we can just get some responses that way.
Okay, and if maybe I'm going to be away for 2 weeks, and I won't be back until the Sunday before our next meeting. So maybe what would work is if we could go over it during our meeting on the, what is it, the 25th? September 15th. September 15th. So would that work, Josh? Could you just pull it up on the town website, for instance, and go show us?
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually hoping to do that tonight, but yeah, what I could do is, yeah, I mean, it'd be, when I thought I could get it done.
Oh, I see, but you haven't had the time. I see. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so what I was going to do is actually just share my screen before we, got it published to the website,
Right.
and then that way I could take notes and get the committee's response and see where we're at with it.
Okay, that sounds great.
And you said it was September 15th is what the plan is?
Yeah. Third Thursday again. We got off track a couple months, but
Yeah, it is very doable for me.
okay, great. All right, and then the other item that Josh was going to speak to was down under new business, that we have some applicants for the open space committee vacancy, and he's going to speak to that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let everybody know that there are 2 applicants that have started the process. They've met with the Citizens Advisory Committee. Their next step is going to be to actually meet with the town manager, and then the town manager, because you only have 1 vacancy right now, will choose one and then get them ratified with the town council at their next meeting, which is September 13th. So that's the current process right now. We've got 2 outstanding applicants.
And you said the 13th?
13th, yeah.
Yeah, so they could be at our next meeting then.
Yes, if they can get in and get sworn in on the Wednesday or Thursday, that'd be perfect.
Okay, all right, okay.
And then if anybody has any friends or acquaintances that they know that are interested in some of the committees, we do have several other vacancies. Open space seems to be the most popular with how many applicants we've received. But we do have quite a few vacancies. You can always point them in my direction. Everybody's got my email, just send them my way and I'll get them started in the process.
You said there was a third person that applied later on, Josh, is that right?
So there's a third person that reached out and they were going to, I was actually thinking that they might join this meeting. I had talked to them, a couple of emails back and forth, let them know the process of getting their application in. I haven't received an application. They've just expressed interest.
Okay,
So that's, there isn't anything new on that one.
okay. Lauren, did you post the vacancy on the Bridgewater residents Facebook page?
I did. So I posted it like soon after our meeting and there weren't any comments or anything on it, but maybe it still sparked people's interest.
Yeah, that's what I'm attributing it to. Thank you. I mean,
Yeah, we received several very quickly.
I mean, that
Yeah,
doesn't really
so-
happen very often, does it, Josh?
I'm sorry?
That doesn't happen very often for any position, any volunteer position, does it? That you
No, I was wondering what you guys were offering when I got 3 people interested.
Yeah, right. So, and Lauren, I mean, you didn't embellish it in any way. I mean, you didn't do a sales pitch or anything.
I put a link to the application on the website and, you know, I think I put some things from the mission statement. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right. You didn't say what a fun and active group we were or anything like that.
well, we got good leadership. So, you know, it's a good committee to be on. So, I think, you know, people want to filter their caring about the environment into something tangible. So,
Yeah, good, great, thank you. So I don't know, Josh, maybe that's something for other committees to think about. Maybe that's a good place to go to. I don't know if the town, where the town advertises, whether they use any social media other than just the town announcements or website or what, but
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. We're always looking for more outreach to the public, get as many people involved in volunteering as possible.
yeah, good. All right. So hopefully we'll have a new person next meeting. All right, so Josh, I think you're free to go if you would like.
Okay,
to.
well, thank you guys and have a good evening.
All right, thank you. And you have us recorded.
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah, right, you do. Yep. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. All right, let's see. Now, let's go back to the agenda. The first item was the Lakeshore Development Phase 4. The Lake Nipanicket Action Focus Team filed their eligibility form. And I think we talked about this the last time, and we are a sponsoring, I think it's a sponsoring organization on that. The Open Space Committee is a sponsoring organization on that form. And there was a lot of discussion online about this via emails back and forth yesterday. We were getting feedback from the committee, the CPC, that they wanted, well, first they wanted more information from Melissa to just some clarification about the application, which she had sent in. And then I had heard some concerns that, you know, it still wasn't what they needed. And so Melissa's asked that the meeting, that the consideration of that eligibility form be put off to the September meeting. And after going back and forth in emails about this, Gina agreed that that would be what we would do, that it would just be postponed till the September meeting. And it was, unfortunately, I think there was more said at that meeting that than should have been, given the fact that we weren't supposed to be discussing the substance. We were just supposed to be postponing it, as I understood. And we got some very negative comments from Carlton Hunt about why it shouldn't have been filed and why it was illegitimate because it hadn't been filed by a 501c3 organization or a person that owns the property, which is, I don't know, I don't understand it all, because their form allows for an application to be submitted by an individual or a group. So it's the whole discussion was quite confusing. That said, will be taken up again at next month's meeting. And I think we'll probably want to do, give a little more thought to how to approach it before that happens. You know, as I haven't had a chance, and I don't know that Melissa's had a chance to really, we haven't had a chance to discuss like how the applicants and the Open Space Committee as a sponsoring organization might want to approach this going forward. But I think we definitely have some more work to do, because I don't think it's going to go anywhere given what we saw last evening. So let's see, Pat was on the call. Gina, you're joining us this evening, I see. I don't know if you want anything, if you want to add anything.
No, I think you probably covered it.
Yeah, no, I was asking Gina, not, yeah,
Oh.
Gina, yeah. Gina, are you there? Gina, you're muted. I don't know if you. All right, well, maybe either she's not there, she's not hearing me, or she doesn't want to say anything. So anyway, that's, you know, the next steps remain to be determined. This seems like a really important project to me, and I think we ought to do everything we can to see it go forward. So, and Maureen, I want to say Maureen was on the CPC meeting last night. She is our new member, as you know, and so you had a great introduction, Maureen. Yeah, it's usually not quite that lively, in my experience anyway. Not that I've been on them all, but anyhow, appreciated your being there. So. All right, anybody else have anything they want to add?
No, just thank you for your comments, Eileen, and I think you provided a good summary. And you know, I hope that you know, moving forward, it'll be maybe a more productive cooperation discussion, and I look forward to that. And I think we all do. So
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Gina's gone, I see. So. All right. Okay. So. All right, so the parks information with the town website, that was what Josh just covered. So we're moving down to the tree committee. If Nicole is ready, is dinner on the table, Nicole?
Yes.
All right.
I'm going to actually, I'm going to, you'll see a request from me too. I'm going to try to log in on my laptop just so I'm here
Okay,
in a moment.
but do you want us to move on to another item? Give you another?
Yeah, yeah, let's
Okay.
flip flop to the next and then I'll be ready.
Okay, all right, yeah, this will be short.
Thank you.
The other thing, just Hanson Farm, that of course, that's always discussed at the CPC meetings as well. And Michael Dutton was on the CPC meeting last night, which was helpful for a number of these projects, because there are a lot of them that overlap with our committee as well. But Hanson Farm, I had heard from the Hansons that they had finalized their survey, and now the survey needs to go to the town, which it hasn't done yet, but I guess it's prepared to go. They're expecting it anytime. And the town has lined up an appraiser, which was good to hear, because there was some concern a number of months ago that it's hard to get appraisers these days. Everything was so busy, but they do have somebody lined up. So as soon as they get the final survey, they'll be able to get the appraiser working on that, and working on what parts of the property will be carved out, such as the ice cream stand and the farm stand, and then one of the houses that's on the properties, because those will not have the same restriction placed on them that will apply to all of the farmland. So that's something that needs to be sketched out. So anyway, so that was good news. And Michael and Jennifer in the community economic development also have drafted the conservation restriction based on the Murray Meads farm, which is adjacent there on North Street. And so they've got that document in progress too. So those are three big elements of the plan. So hopefully it will continue to move ahead. You know, well, actually, I'm going to take the next item just because it's connected to Hanson Farm. I mentioned this last time, that I had talked with the Hansons, had approached me about the possibility of trying to preserve the land where the slaughterhouse is. Or it was, I mean, the business is not in operation. It hasn't been for a couple of years, but if everybody knows, right there on North Street, there's that big barn, and then there's land that goes behind it. And that property is for sale. I informally, I guess at this point, you know, I'm not sure, like it's been for sale for some time, and I think it was for sale, as I understand it, even before the slaughterhouse business closed. And the owner died, and now his wife owns the property. And the Hansons just thought it was worth pursuing if there was any chance to preserve that land, because otherwise we would have the Murray Needs farmland abutting whatever might be developed in that parcel that then is slightly to the south of Murray Needs. So it'd be much nicer from an open space perspective to have that whole property to the corner, basically, of the corner of 104 on North Street as open space. And there's also a 3-acre parcel right on the corner where that sort of, that house that's kind of falling apart is right on the corner of North and 106. And that's the home that the Hansons grew up in. And so they have some interest in seeing that property remains as part of the farmland as well. So it could be, that could be part of, if that could be sold to them, they might be interested in seeing that as part of what they put under restriction as part of their own farm. So anyway, it's very much an open issue right now. And this next step was going to be David Hanson was going to set up a time for me and him to talk with the woman who owns the property currently and see what her interests are and whether she's amenable in any way to having that property protected. So I haven't heard from David about whether he's spoken with her or not. So I meant to get over there today, but I didn't. So I don't know. So that's still very much up in the air, but it is something that's on a long term would be really nice to see happen. So. All right. Any questions about that? Does everybody know what I'm talking about? Do you know where that property is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So if you were looking to buy that property, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
for the town?
Yeah.
So that would have to go in through the funds that we were talking about last night and
Probably,
through the
yeah.
whole application process.
Yeah.
And that would go, who would sponsor that? Would we?
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Excuse me, Eileen, I got a note from Gina. She's waiting to be let in.
Oh my gosh. Well, she was up there. I wonder what happened.
She got bumped out somehow.
Oh my gosh. Well,
I don't know.
she's not appearing as a,
Doesn't seem that she's there.
yeah, okay, there she is.
Okay.
Hi, Gina. Hi, Gina. Hello.
She's on mute.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. When I
Oh,
first
Gina,
jumped
I'm
on,
sorry. I didn't know you were gone. You were gone, and I thought you had just gotten off when we stopped talking about the CPC meeting. So I didn't get any. There was nothing that showed me you were trying to get back in. I'm so sorry.
that's okay.
How
I don't know what,
how is it that you got in and then just got bumped off? I don't understand.
well, my microphone wasn't on. I was on my phone. Usually I use the iPad, but I put it on in the car as I left something else. And when I came in the house and tried to turn on the microphone, you were asking if I had any comments.
Oh,
How I got knocked off.
okay. All right. Well, the item we're talking about right now is, let's see, Nicole. Nicole, are you ready to talk to us?
Yes.
Okay, Nicole is going to talk about the tree committee.
Yes.
Okay.
So let me just retrace the history. So it was probably more than a year ago at this time where Mr. Dutton kind of tried to formulate and pull together a tree committee. So at the time I don't remember how it happened. He reached out to the open space committee. I had said I wasn't interested, and we sort of had like this ad hoc tree committee in which we were doing some research together, looking at different ways in which other towns similar to ours kind of handle and protect their trees. We were sort of focusing it more on like from a regulatory perspective, I guess, and ways in which we could consider a zoning, modifications to regulations we currently have, or establishing a tree ordinance. So we had several meetings and we did make some progress, but I know that we were kind of up against, the actual, some modification to the zoning regs and other things that were going on. Then I heard from Ray,
Jimmy,
yes, thank you. I cannot pronounce his last name, from the planning board. And he had talked to Michael Dutton and was really enthusiastic about pushing forward what's now becoming a tree board. So we've had several meetings. There's a kind of about maybe 7 to 10 folks participating in those meetings. And it's a combination of, different representation from the town, different boards, the public. I can kind of give you a little bit more of a summary on that. And it seems the driver for the tree board is it may still help fulfill some of the ideas that the ad hoc tree committee was talking about at the time, but it seems the true driver is to have a mechanism and have a board in place that would have the ability, when the town receives funds, either mostly the current way it's going to happen is potentially funds that developers may need to provide to compensate for their development, to find, basically have a mechanism and in a committee in place to figure out how those funds are managed. So it sort of took a little bit of a spin. However, we have been working as a group to basically develop the I guess the mission statement and really the responsibilities of the board. And that's finally kind of been vetted out amongst the group, and it was given back to Michael Dutton, who I believe will have to, I'm not going to try to speak from a legal perspective of how that board is going to be established and who approves that. I'm not sure if anyone else on the, is aware of how that happens. But I'll just continue with kind of what I do know is that the board's going to be made up of 7 members that are going to be appointed by the town manager. And the members are going to include, some of which may be people that are sort of already involved, but some of which need to be found. Everything from a tree warden, a member of the highway department, a member of the planning board, a certified arborist, landscape architect, or somebody with comparable experience or training, a member from the Bridgewater Improvements Association, a member from the Open Space Committee, and a member from the general public. So that's the recommendation for what this board would consist of. And then the responsibilities of the board would include things that are very important, like, developing and maintaining a tree inventory of the town's trees, really like encouraging the long-term health of Bridgewater trees by helping to establish policies for maintaining trees and planting trees. And this is kind of the one that I mentioned seemed to be the main driver for launching this, which is to work with town officials and boards to manage mitigation funds for the purchase, planting, and care of trees. Working with town officials and other matters that relate to, caring for public trees. Working with and this is one that I was personally passionate about, working with town officials and boards to pursue grants and other funding opportunities for the purchase, planting, and care of trees. designing educational programs for the public to, learn more about protecting their trees, promoting that our Bridgewater be reestablished as a tree city, and get back involved with Arbor Day, evaluating opportunities for tree nursery, and coordinating existing tree regulations among other town boards to ensure consistency. So those are what's not approved at all, but what's going to be going forward as the recommendation from this committee, that the board be established with those 7 members, and that be the roles and responsibilities of the board. So a lot really happened in the 2 months since Ray helped to really help push this, this forward.
Nicole, one of the things you said at the beginning, I'm not sure so did you say they're looking at a funding mechanism to compensate developers for planting trees? I didn't, what did I miss there?
No. The developers, through the permitting process with zoning or planning board, the developers may be required to provide mitigation funding that would go to the town, that would go towards the purchase, planting, and care of trees. In other words, in compensation for a developer's removal of trees,
I see.
they may request mitigation for the loss of the trees that would then be able to now have a place to go, have a fund in an actual place where that money can be held, and an actual board with various professionals and those with a vested interest in the trees to work together to figure out how to best spend that money, to, I guess, provide compensatory trees in public spaces. So it's, kind of an offset.
Right.
It would be if the developers are promoting a substantial amount of trees to be removed. I still need to do more research and want to do more research to understand, because I'm not quite sure there's any prescriptive requirement, like for each, for this many trees or this many acres of trees, you need to provide this much mitigation. I think it's been more of a negotiation. So hopefully our committee and my work through this board can kind of help try to push maybe more, more stringent or more clear, I guess, direction. And that's my hope. But I am very happy that I do feel like this is a first step. And, what if it had to be that a developer is about to give mitigation funds and there needs to be a board to care for these funds and get it paid, that's, if that's the driver, I was happy that happened, because now it seems that we've really pushed forward in the last couple of months, and at least have something. A year ago we had nothing anywhere near what we have now for this, this potential tree board.
Has there been any attempt or maybe even success at asking that of developers heretofore? I mean, has a planning board ever asked for mitigation for tree removal?
Yes.
They have, okay.
They just did. So I think this is probably public knowledge that they did, and they received the funding now. They have received mitigation funds from a developer. I believe it's the one on Route 18 across from Fireworks Circle. So,
yeah. So under what authority were they doing that? Was that part, I assume it was part of the planning?
That was through planning board. That was through the planning board process.
Negotiations. It's just, okay, but it wasn't any requirement, and now
no,
be more formalized.
And that's something I wanted to talk about. We can, after we finish talking about this, that's maybe something as a board, as a committee, we could talk about too, like that. I wasn't necessarily aware of that development. I only kind of learned about this on the reverse side, just through my, through the board. I know many of you are more active in what's going on and, the planning and zoning committee meetings, but I guess this committee did not know that such a substantial development was happening, and in a substantial amount of clear cutting of trees. So,
Right.
I guess the somewhat good news is that there's mitigation funds that are going to be provided back to the town to spend and compensate, but I guess the question would always be like, how can you put a value on 10 acres of trees?
Yeah.
That's what I am struggling with. I mean, obviously this is a huge step that the town actually obtained these mitigation funds. So I guess you can sway me either way, that I think it's a good, if I think it's good or bad. I think it's good that they have the mitigation fund at least. Unfortunately, we just don't seem to have enough regulations in place to protect clear cutting. So that's like, that's number 7 on the list for what the tree board's, responsibilities are going to be, to hopefully, work more with the boards and the regulations that we have in place and see what more we can do.
Interesting. So do we know what mitigation was paid for that 10 acres next to the yoga center on Route 18?
Yes,
What?
I believe it's either it's $20,000 to $26,000. I don't know. I think
Right.
that part of that might be the interest or something to that effect. So it's in the $20,000 range. So
Are
it
you
is a
sure?
lot. Yeah,
I was under the impression it was way more than that.
maybe. You may be right, Maureen. Maybe I wonder sometimes the way that they do these things is that they need to provide an initial, and then there's some, some additional for maintenance or something like that. I don't know. What did you see something printed?
It was in a different committee that I'm on, that I
Oh.
thought it was a much higher amount than that.
I hope so. I
Um,
hope I'm wrong.
I thought it was closer to 75,
Yeah,
but I
Oh,
could be
good.
wrong. I could be wrong also. It was a couple of years ago that came out, and I've been waiting to see what they're going to do. I had no idea that they're gonna clear cut as much as they did. I was hoping they'd leave like
Something.
a boundary of some trees
I
on
know.
18.
yeah.
I was heartbroken when I saw what they did,
I
which
know.
brings me to a question about your committee. Are they going to do anything to prevent clear cutting like that?
Nope.
No,
Well,
I thought we're going to try to do something about this.
yes, we were trying to, I mean, I am an advocate for that, but right now, the first priority, I think, was just getting this board in place. I suppose one of its responsibilities would be to work with the boards to try to, establish some regulations, but I think this committee needs to potentially also help take a stronger role in us, maybe putting forward that we need to strengthen our regulations, and that we recommend that the tree board really work hard to, find ways in which we can either amend our current, regulations and or keep pushing forward with the idea of a tree ordinance.
But if they're just starting that committee, can't they put that on there right now while they're
It is part of the
developing the committee?
It is part of the responsibilities.
You said it's number 7, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't in necessarily any
Yeah,
order,
okay,
but
it's not their top priority at this point.
well, I think just the driver was the mitigation funds and getting
That's
it
right,
established.
yeah.
Yeah, and hey, I'm glad that happened, because that drove it forward, and we're about to get this board be a real
Yeah.
board that actually
Yeah.
can do something. So
Yeah.
if that's what it took, that's what it took. I mean, it's unfortunate, but baby steps, I guess. But I mean, I personally feel that I want to find a way to help push forward the clear cutting limits. It's not really limits. It's just, requiring a different way to do it, right? Like there's no way that building is going to fill the full 10 acres. So there has to be ways in which you can protect, still do the development, but provide, like, as you say, Maureen, buffers, selective clearing, protection of some trees. So if this facility, I don't really know what it is, if it's got a parking lot or if it's got some, open space, well, it would have been wonderful to have several trees and little groves of trees maintained. It makes it much easier for a developer to clear cut because they got a
I
clean
thought it was
street.
going to be a solar field. Have they changed?
No.
No, it's not a
warehouse. It's gonna be a warehouse.
Yeah, the solar
Is that
field was something
all?
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
the solar field
Oh,
was something
okay.
different. So it's some sort of big, it's really big. It is a really big warehouse. That's what I heard. So I don't
Yeah.
even
Do they
know.
have a tenant already?
No,
Because
they
the ones
don't.
across the street don't have tenants.
No.
So yeah, they're tearing down all the trees and taking away all that forestry and
Yep.
for something they may not even have a tenant for.
Yeah, I happened to be at the town, at the planning department the other day for something, I can't remember what, but I talked to Steve Sobel about it. And he said this is the same company that built the warehouse across from the NIP. And that they build them and then they find a tenant.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it took them forever to find tenants on Elm Street.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I asked too was, was there any chance they were, given that it was a warehouse, it seemed like it might be a good opportunity for solar panels on the roof. But apparently nobody's thinking about that.
We have no regulation.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So I'll, hopefully if this board goes forward and I am confirmed as the representative of the Open Space Committee, I will try to work really hard to focus on that piece. I'm hopeful there'll be others on the board that will have the same, passion.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to take collaboration with others. So, I mean, I'm wondering if almost as an Open Space Committee, we try to push the agenda, forward a little bit on our own too, by making, more recommendations.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea, Nicole.
Yeah.
So, and are you recommended now to be on the committee? Your name is what's gone to Michael Dutton, as far as you know? I just want to make sure we don't have to recommend.
We
you-
may have to recommend somebody from our committee. So
Okay.
I think that's the way it's going to go. That they'll say the board's, this board is going to go forward, and now the selection process happens. So there was those specific committees that are going to have a representative. So they will probably come to you, Eileen, and say that we need to establish our representative.
All right,
And then we can figure that out. And then, there's a few other committees that would have a representative.
but it
like the-
sounds like you are interested in being on it when that comes about.
I would be.
Yeah, great, okay. All right, well, we'll look forward.
Yeah.
to
So,
All
and
right.
if maybe we just all just kind of keep brainstorming ways in which, I think the tree ordinance may be pretty difficult to get past. It just may be very onerous and take a lot of time. Not to say it couldn't happen, but I'm wondering about starting with just the regulations we have in place and seeing what we can, help potentially amend or, as part of the zoning bylaws and the subdivision rules and regulations. And, I think there's a lot of holes in that too. If basically if you don't have a project to put forward, but you own land, there's really nothing prohibiting you from just going and clear cutting. And then
That's
3
right.
years later, saying, well, this is my site, I'm going to build, my building. And in that case, you wouldn't even have to provide any mitigation funds because you're building on an already clear site, so there's, without a tree ordinance, you could still have something by having those subdivision regs, strengthened a little bit or amended, or the zoning bylaws, but, without an ordinance, you can't really fully protect trees. And I don't think most people that I've talked to aren't, concerned about like the oak tree in my yard as much as we are about just acres upon acres of clear cut, upland forests that are providing like critical habitat and, resilience to climate change and everything else that we need so much right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's probably anybody that goes down Route 18 who doesn't feel a gut punch.
Yeah.
at That thing. Geez.
Yeah. I think people are scared of tree ordinances because in other, in some of the towns, for example, like the Newtons and other towns outside of Boston, I mean, you need a permit to take down a tree in your own yard. So I think that kind of,
Oh, really?
scares people that's the type of restriction that, that some people that would support a tree ordinance in Bridgewater would be thinking. And I'm not even quite sure. I don't even think that that's what it is. I think it's just the scale of what
Right.
can happen here compared to somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think that anybody would be trying to do that to people and restrict them in that way. It's more of protecting the environment as a whole in this town. And those are massive impacts that are happening. I had brought up a long time ago what happened at the Cherry Street development, and
Oh, yeah,
that was 10 times this, I think.
the
So,
preserve.
yeah, I
Right.
know. I know. All right. Well, that's my
All right, well, that's good.
my my dissertation.
Right, thank you. That was good. Nicole, Pat, do you have anything you want to add? I know you've been attending those meetings too as a interested.
No,
party.
I think once the real tree committee is appointed, they will come up with regulations, but it has nothing to do with other than the town-owned land, so I think the real tree committee is probably going to follow those guidelines, and something still has to be done, as Nicole said,
Yeah.
to protect the rest of the land from developers.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
don't know.
All right.
I agree. I just have a comment and a question. There needs to be a threshold, and that threshold should be either acreage or it should be location, proximity to wetlands, these kinds of things. And I would think that if a tree ordinance could be written up that reflected that, that would definitely be something that people would support. And I also had a question. So who determines the mitigation funds? Is that planning board or is that the tree board? And how will that change or not change going forward?
The planning board negotiated the mitigation funds. The mitigation funds then would go to the tree board to manage.
Yeah. So the tree board doesn't determine the mitigation. Okay.
No.
But they probably can come up with percentages
Yes.
or values,
Yeah.
because I know Mr. Ajamian has just thrown out a number to a developer and they've agreed to it. So
Yep.
there's no real rules, no
Right. So
regulation.
that would be the, recommending actual rules around it and
Right.
actual,
Yeah.
an actual formula, which completely
Right.
exists in other
Yeah.
tree ordinances and regulation.
Yeah.
So, and there's many, I did a lot of research about this, like what other tree ordinances do to protect from clear cutting. They require, that you can't clear, these from certain percentages or distances from the property
Boundaries.
line, the
Yeah.
boundaries, and that you need to actually like lay out your building and everything and show that you absolutely need to clear what you need to clear. And you
Mhm.
really can only additionally clear, for sight lines, for driveways, for actual necessity.
Mhm.
You need to basically just plan out the site and demonstrate that you protected what you could at the bare bone minimum. And then there's other things that you're only allowed, to clear certain percentages, and you can go on and on. But I did compile a ton of research that we can use and build from.
That, yep. All right. Thank you, Nicole. That was a great report and good work. Thanks. All right, so let's see. Where we did parks information, we did tree committee, we did Hanson Farm, we did Mary Needs. Oh, okay, so the last thing on here that I was going to touch on was just the Wyman Meadow. We've talked about the access plan that the Wildlands Trust folks are coming up with for that property. I hope maybe at our September or if not, then the following meeting in October, Mitch Hennings, the guy who came and did an overview for us with the presentation online, et cetera, of what they were planning there, is they have kind of finalized what they want to do and where it would go. And so he will come and basically have something, I think that will be the presentation that we would need to present to the Conservation Commission to get their approval to put the bog boards in over the wetland areas in the town land, which would then provide access to the 41-acre Wildlands Trust property. So, and I think I've mentioned before, this is a project that Wildlands Trust is really happy with, because it's their land has been inaccessible to the public because they've had no way to provide access on a road or any other where it's surrounded, otherwise they're landlocked. And so this is allowing them to provide a walkway from the town land to the river on their Wildlands Trust property. And they said it's a beautiful overlook on the bluff and stuff. I didn't make it all the way out there the last time, but so it's utilizing the town parking area, which is already there, kind of laid out. And there was even a kiosk there 20 years ago when it was still just conservation land before the water department went in. And so I think it's going to be a great project. One thing that I just found out yesterday, or the day before, I guess, is Pat Meary had gone to the Energy Committee meeting, and there's a discussion going on about putting a solar field out there now. And so that was the first I'd heard of that. And I think maybe the first it's come up, it was Carlton Hunt's idea. He's just been trying to assess open space on town-owned land that could be used for solar fields. And this was one place that he identified. So I brought him up to speed on what we're planning there. And it sounds like he sent me a picture today, and I can't, it's sort of vague, but he seems to think, and I think I agree with him, that it sounds like where he was, the spot he was identifying was up past the, well, I don't know if anybody but Maureen has been. Gina, are you familiar with that land out there?
Just a tad.
Yeah.
Just as, yeah.
Yeah,
not too
Pat,
far
have you
in.
been out there? I can't remember. Have you been? No, okay. Well, there's a long road that goes from Plymouth Street up to the water department. Maybe it's a quarter mile, and it was dirt and they paved it. And then there's a building up there, and then there's the wellhead. And it sounds to me, and this will only mean something to Maureen and maybe you, Gina, is that what Carlton is talking about is sort of to the south of that building, that there's kind of an open area there that I'm not sure, I can't tell if it's even visible to the Plymouth Street, for instance. It's hard to tell, but anyway, that's what he was looking at. He's not really looking at the land that's to the east of the road, which is town-owned conservation land. It is an open area, but it is quickly being filled in with invasive species. So it's not all that open, and but it's probably just gonna, that's not where he's proposing this, which I think is important. I mean, because I don't know that we would want a solar field right there. But anyway, it's just another, it's an issue. The last time I had a meeting with Michael Dutton in July, he told me he was going to be talking to the water department about this, just to make sure that they know what's being discussed. And I don't know if he knows anything about the solar field idea, but anyhow, that we'll see how that progresses. And the other thing that came up is I mentioned to Carlton that a good part of the town conservation land, we believe, is inaccessible to trails because of the wellhead protection areas. And he wasn't sure. I thought there were 3 wellheads out there. At least I think the drawings that we had, that the landscape architect had done back in the early 2000s showed that. Do you remember that, Maureen, when we were out there with the Wildlands Trust people? There were 3 areas that seemed to be wells, but Carlton seems to think there's only 1. So whether that was a planning drawing that we were looking at from way back when. So anyway, that's another issue we have to, yeah, you're on mute, but that's another issue we'll have to look into, is because if there aren't 3 wellheads out there, then maybe the town land is more accessible than we thought. So, but at any rate, it's moving along, and I think it'll be a good project, and I hope we'll have a presentation on it at our next meeting. Any questions about that? Anybody?
Now, Eileen, before you adjourn, can I just finish what's on your agenda? And I apologize, I don't have it right in front of me. Then I'd like to just comment.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And actually, this last item, you ought to weigh in anyway, Gina. what I put down was the Community Preservation Committee Annual Public Hearing. And the only reason I put that down is because I thought maybe I would have heard at the CPC meeting last night when the date was going to be and whether I was considering whether this committee might need to put something together for our element of that. But it's from the meetings, the outcome of the meeting last night, it sounds like you're going to try to hire a consultant to do the whole CPC presentation. Is that correct? Would you say I've summarized that?
Correct. I think it would be good if we had somebody in town from the town manager's office that could put it together. As I commented to her last night, I know that they're swamped with things. So we were reaching out to Jennifer Golson, who is our CPC consultant, to see if she'd do it and what she would charge, if she could do it. As we said last night, it'll be, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead and finish.
No, as we said last night, it would be top thing on the September agenda.
Okay, yeah. One of the things I just like to request is that if you do hire Jennifer or anybody, that she is in touch with us, with this committee, so she knows what we're doing, that it's not just kind of an overview of the, what's in the open space plan or what's.
Sure,
Yeah, okay.
Sure, definitely.
Okay, all right, great. All right, thank you for that, Gina. And the last item I have on here is Murphy's Landing, which is new, and it's not really business to us. It's just something I wanted to bring to your attention. I had a long talk with Scott McFadden at Wildlands Trust this week. And, I've already mentioned that we're working on the Wyman Meadow project with them, and they've been involved in Hanson Farm, and they were involved in Murray Needs long ago. And they've actually got quite a few things going on in town that we're not involved in. And one of them is this Murphy's Landing. I hadn't heard of it before, but the link I sent to you in the agenda is all I know about it. And Scott told me he's been working on it with Kitty Doherty for some time. It's the headwaters of, I guess it's not the headwater, the headwater of the Town River, I think is what he said. And there's somebody's been doing a development there, but there's an area that is clearly not developable. And so they're trying to set it aside and put a restriction on it. And I can't remember if anyone has that link open. What I read was informative. So I recommend that if you're interested in it, you read that, because I'm not remembering a lot of the background of what I just read myself. But it's so Wildlands Trust is working on that. They're hoping that it will provide a river access to perhaps a boat launch, and even maybe some kind of a observation area and little park or something. So I don't know exactly where it stands, but it's something that sounds like there's been a lot of talk about it for years, and whether it's coming close to fruition, I don't know. But anyway, it was kind of interesting to hear about it. And some of these things have been going on so long, and I don't remember that was even ever identified in the open space plan. That the term Murphy's Landing is not one I'm familiar with. So either I just overlooked it, or it just wasn't something that ever came up. But all right, has anyone else heard of it? Gina, have you heard of that, Murphy's Landing?
I've never heard of it, and I was wondering when I saw your agenda where it was. Never heard of it, and I've lived here all my life.
Yeah, okay, well, so that's all right. Yeah, so it's kind of funny, how these things come up. So obviously it's an open space. It's got some open space potential, and who knew? I mean, Kitty Doherty knew, I guess. So good for her. But yeah,
and where is it again?
It's right. My understanding, it's kind of near the Bridgewater Farm Supply. Just like the bridge that's just to the west of that.
Okay.
That area of the river right there is. And then there's that little road that goes off to the south. I think it's called River Run or something. Is that the name of it? I think Scott McFadden mentioned something about that street being involved in some way. So that's all I know. And I'm meaning to go out there myself sometime. And every time I go over the bridge, I kind of looked around, but that's dangerous, and I don't know what I'm looking for. So anyway, I need to go there on foot. Maybe on a bike. All right. Okay, that, I don't have anything else. Does anybody else have anything? Gina, do you want, okay,
Yep. If your committee's set
we're set. Yeah.
on things. Okay, and I apologize that I'm just making the comments now. Yes, I said I somehow knocked myself off of the meeting. First, I'd like to apologize to Melissa and Pat and anybody else who, I know you have a proper name. I refer to you as the NIP committee. I know that there's a proper name to it. The intent, as I replied to everyone, shortly before CPC meeting, that I had no problem postponing the meeting till the key people from the committee could be there. I was given something that was kind of unbeknownst to me. Maybe I knew it like in the back of my mind, about who can actually apply. Like that somebody can apply for the money for somebody else's property, but I understand the intent is to buy the property. So therefore that would kind of negate that. I personally was surprised that some of the discussion that the comments that were being made, and I was trying to get folks, and I probably contributed to that when the comment was made, just kind of adding my 2 cents. The intent was not to discuss it at all.
Right.
There are complexities with not your eligibility form. I think that was prepared completely. Melissa did answer one of my questions before and clarified it. Just with the whole project, and there's a lot of, actually most of what we do has complexities to it. So
Yeah.
it's not just your eligibility form. So I guess I just want to apologize that more discussion was made than should have been made. And I look forward to the discussion in September. Carlton had posed a few concerns, not at the meeting, just in response to the email. And I myself didn't get to reply to the email because I was gone most of yesterday afternoon. And I agree with some of his comments that, we should look at. And that's why when I sent out my email, it was, think about those, come up with, how to contribute to the discussion for those, plus anything else that comes up. But I just wanted to say that the intent was to postpone and not discuss it at all.
Right.
Thank
So,
you.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Gina.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate that, because it was quite startling to me.
Me too. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it wasn't what I expected. And one thing I want to ask you right now, though, because it seems I heard Carlton say very clearly last night that this is not a 501c3 and they can't apply. And your form says an individual or a group can apply.
yeah, I was surprised when he said that too,
Yeah,
because
okay.
it's right on the form.
Yeah.
So I'd have to look more into that. Maybe our form is wrong.
Yeah.
But so I'd like to look more into that, but I didn't think he had to be a 501c.
Yeah. All right, well, I think the Lake Nippanicka Action Focus Team is going to meet again before that meeting. And I think our committee needs to be, wants to be very involved in this as well. I mean, we went in just as a signatory to support, but now I feel like I personally feel like I'm I'm ready to do battle on this, as you may have noticed last night. I feel like it's a really important project. I mean, I hope it gets a fair hearing at the CPC going forward, because I didn't think it did last night, so.
No.
Didn't have had any hearing, and what was said was I thought very biased, so. Anyway,
Mhm. And I apologize for that.
yeah, no, yeah, well,
I
you
hope it
can't
wasn't my
apologize, yeah,
comments
no,
that
you
were
can only
biased.
apologize for what you said, not for what someone else said, so,
Right.
all right.
Right.
Well, thank you, Gina, I really appreciate your coming here.
Okay, thank you. And I think anything that to preserve open space and land in town is important. I've lived here all my life. Actually the same house, which I don't know if there's many people that can say that. And I've just seen so many things, even going down Center Street where Aldrich Road comes out. And I don't know what's up with that project. I think last I saw something was on hold because of the wetlands. But just, I was thinking of that when Nicole was talking about all the trees taken down, that they just went through and bushwhacked everything there.
Center Street at Aldridge, is that what you said? Oh, huh.
Yeah. Across from the parish center, St. Thomas Aquinas Parish Center.
Oh, huh. I haven't noticed.
Yeah, right at the bend. And from what I understand, I don't know whether it's for condos or houses, what, some type of housing development.
Oh,
And it was a plan that was approved
Years ago.
many, many years ago. I want to say it was more
Oh.
than 10 years ago. And it's a new owner of the land who is going through with it, with the project. But as I said, last I saw something about wetlands.
Hmm.
So I'm not sure where that stands, but if you go by, you see it more going from the church to Pleasant Street. As you go around that
Oh,
little
okay.
bend, you'll see right almost to the corner of Aldrich Road, you'll just see the trees completely down.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, on that happy note, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion
They
to
all want to
adjourn.
stay on.
Oh, we weren't on.
Nope, I
Second?
motion
second
to
it.
adjourn. Oh, thank
I'll second it.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Does
Pat.
anyone-
Hey, does everybody approve? Everybody wants to?
Yes.
adjourn? All right,
Yes,
all right. Thank you all, appreciate
Good
it.
night,
Bye.
everyone.
Good night.
good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.